"You're done, Harper." The words echoed across the open floor of Sterling Vale Innovations, sharp enough to cut through the hum of keyboards and fake laughter. I didn't look up right away. I finished a sentence in my email. Then I clicked save. "Excuse me?" I asked calmly, lifting my eyes to meet our COO, Vanessa Crow. She stood in red heels and victory. "Pack your things. Security will escort you out in 30 minutes. The office went silent. Even the interns stopped whispering. My name is Harper Monroe. And in that moment, as 23 co-workers pretended not to stare, I realized something important. Vanessa had no idea who she had just fired. "On what grounds?" I asked. "Gross incompetence. Failure to deliver on Project Atlas." She smirked. "You were never leadership material." Project Atlas. The project I created. The one I built in my garage before Sterling Vale ever existed. I nodded once. "Understood." She leaned closer. "You're too soft to survive corporate America." Soft. That word stayed with me. I closed my laptop, unplugged my charger, slipped my leather notebook into my bag. What I didn't hand over was the master encryption key sitting quietly on my private server. The elevator doors closed behind me. No one followed. No one defended me. Not even Trevor, whose bonus I personally approved last quarter. Fine. I didn't drive home. I drove to a building 3 blocks away, an office registered under Monroe Holdings LLC. Sterling Vale thought I sold my stake 3 years ago. I didn't. I was the silent majority shareholder. When Vanessa and our CEO Daniel Brooks diluted my shares during medical leave after my father's death, they assumed I wouldn't fight. They buried me under paperwork and fake performance reviews. They forgot one detail. I wrote the original codebase for Atlas. I still controlled the infrastructure license. I opened my laptop. 3 folders waited. Internal emails showing Vanessa rerouting R&D funds. A falsified performance memo submitted during my bereavement. And the big one, evidence of Daniel negotiating a quiet acquisition of our tech without board approval. I drafted one email. Subject: Emergency Invocation Clause 4.22 Founder Override. Recipients: Board Chair Eleanor Price and 2 external investors already uneasy about leadership. Attachment: everything. Then I hit send. Vanessa thought she erased me. Tomorrow morning, her keycard won't work. And she still won't understand why. Because I wasn't fired. I was activated. And I've been very patient. At 9:02 am, I walked back into Sterling Vale Innovations like I'd never left. Charcoal suit, hair pulled tight, calm heartbeat. The receptionist blinked. "Miss Monroe," I thought. "You thought wrong," I said gently. The elevator opened to the executive floor. Inside stood Vanessa Crow, scrolling her phone, latte in hand. She froze. "You have nerve showing up here." "I have ownership," I replied. Before she could fire back, the conference room doors opened. Eleanor Price, our board chair and former federal prosecutor, stepped out. Her expression wasn't friendly. "Vanessa," she said crisply, "please surrender your company devices." Vanessa laughed. "Excuse me?" "Effective immediately. You're suspended pending investigation." The color drained from her face. "On whose authority?" Eleanor didn't blink. "Founder override. Clause 4.22. Vanessa turned toward me slowly. "You don't have that power." "I do," I said. "And I never gave it up." Daniel Brooks stormed out from behind the glass doors. "Harper, this stunt won't save you." I tilted my head. "It's not a stunt. It's an audit." I placed a folder on the table. Printed bank transfers, offshore accounts, a draft acquisition proposal selling Atlas IP without shareholder consent. "You negotiated a buyout in Zurich last month," I continued. "You used company shares you didn't have authority to leverage." Daniel's jaw tightened. "That's confidential strategy. It's fraud." Silence swallowed the room. Vanessa tried to recover. "Even if this is true, you can't just walk back in." "I didn't walk back in," I said softly. "The board invited me." Eleanor folded her hands. "We received documentation at 11:47 p.m. last night. It appears both of you concealed material financial decisions." Security stepped forward. Vanessa's voice cracked. "This is insane." "No," I said, holding her gaze. "What's insane is firing the founder." As security escorted them out, Daniel shot me a final look. "You're making enemies, Harper." I met his stare without flinching. "They made me first." The doors shut. The executive floor was silent again. But this time, it belonged to me. By noon, The news hadn't leaked yet. The board moved fast, locking down accounts, freezing executive access, securing servers. But something felt off. Too quiet. I sat in Daniel's former office, floor-to-ceiling glass. Skyline view, the throne he thought would last forever. His cologne still lingered in the air. On his desk sat a slim silver tablet, locked. I called IT. Mirror this device. Full recovery. While they worked, I opened the bottom drawer. That's when I saw it. Each one referenced prearranged transition incentives. My pulse slowed, not sped up. This wasn't panic. It was calculation. They weren't just stealing money. They were planning a coordinated exit. If those 6 leaders walked out tomorrow, they'd take engineers, data architects, and product managers with them. Atlas would stall. Investors would panic. Stock would crash. Sterling Vale wouldn't survive a week. And Daniel would launch a new startup with the same team and stolen tech. A corporate assassination. I pressed the intercom. Eleanor, emergency session. Now. Minutes later, the board assembled again. I laid the letters out like evidence in a trial. They planned a mass exodus, I said. They cripple us tomorrow morning and reopen under a different name within 30 days. Eleanor's jaw tightened. Can we stop them? Yes, I said, but not legally. The room went still. We don't fight them in court first. We fight for loyalty. I asked HR to quietly pull employment contracts, non-compete clauses, retention bonuses, equity vesting schedules. Then I made a decision Vanessa would never have made. I requested a full company meeting. At 4:00 p.m., every employee filled the auditorium. Word had already spread, executives suspended, chaos upstairs. I stepped onto the stage. No teleprompter, no script. Yesterday I was fired, I began. Murmurs rippled. Today, I'm still here. Silence. I founded Sterling Vale in a 1-bedroom apartment, with nothing but a prototype and belief. Some of you were there. Some of you joined later. But every one of you built this. I paused. Leadership tried to sell you without telling you. Gasps. They plan to leave tomorrow. To take your work, your equity, your future. I let the truth sit heavy. But here's what they forgot. I stepped forward. I don't abandon what I build. And I don't abandon my people. The room shifted. I'm restructuring executive leadership. Immediate retention bonuses will be honored. Equity refresh grants will be issued. And if you stay, really stay, you won't just work here. I held their eyes. You'll own this place. That's when I saw it. Not fear. Not confusion. Resolve. Daniel thought loyalty was bought in secret meetings. He was wrong. It's earned in daylight. But as the applause began, my phone vibrated in my pocket. Unknown number. One text. You're fighting the wrong enemy. I stared at the screen. Because Daniel was sloppy. Vanessa was greedy. But whoever sent that message, they were neither. You're fighting the wrong enemy. I read the message 3 times before locking my phone. Daniel didn't have subtlety. Vanessa didn't have strategy. This felt different. Calculated. I excused myself from the applause and walked straight to ID. Pull internal server access logs for the last 60 days, I said. Focus on encrypted external transfers. 10 minutes later, a name appeared. Liam Carter, Chief Security Architect. The man I personally recruited from MIT. The one who rebuilt our firewall after a ransomware scare 2 years ago. The quiet genius who avoided politics. He had accessed founder-level repositories 3 times last month, without authorization. I felt it then, not anger. Disappointment. I asked him to meet me in conference room B. He walked in steady, hands in pockets. You wanted to see me? I slid a tablet across the table. Server logs highlighted in red. Explain. He didn't look surprised. That wasn't Daniel, he said calmly. Or Vanessa. Then who? He hesitated. Board member Charles Whitmore. The name hit like ice water. Whitmore was one of our earliest investors. Quiet, rarely attended meetings, always voted with leadership. Whitmore funded Daniel's acquisition talks, Liam continued. He's been siphoning data through an offshore analytics firm. Not to sell Atlas, to replicate it. I finished. Liam nodded. He's building a parallel high model overseas. If Atlas succeeds, he profits here. If it fails, he launches the clone. A hedge, using us as the prototype. Why tell me now? I asked. Because Daniel was reckless, Liam said. Whitmore isn't. He wanted Daniel and Vanessa gone eventually. You just accelerated his timeline. The pieces aligned. The Exodus plan. The silence from Whitmore during suspension. The single anonymous message. You're fighting the wrong enemy. Whitmore never needed the company. He needed the technology perfected. And now that I'd stabilized operations, Atlas was days from final deployment, meaning he didn't need us anymore. My phone buzzed again. Another message. Midnight. Pier 17. Come alone if you want the truth. No signature. I looked at Liam. Is this him? Yes, he said quietly. And if you don't go, he'll trigger the data release anyway. I stood slowly. I built this company from nothing, I said. No one clones it. No one steals it. Liam met my eyes. Whitmore doesn't threaten, he said. He eliminates. I grabbed my coat. Then he picked the wrong founder. Because if Charles Whitmore thought I was just cleaning house, he had no idea I was about to burn the blueprint. And at midnight, I was going to make sure there was nothing left for him to steal. Midnight arrived with a thin fog, rolling over Pier 17. The harbor lights reflected in the black water, fractured and trembling like the city's heartbeat. I stepped out of the cab, leather coat pulled tight. Liam's words echoed in my mind. He doesn't threaten. He eliminates. A shadow detached itself from the crate's tall, impeccably dressed Charles Whitmore. His eyes glinted with the confidence of a man used to winning without ever lifting a finger. Miss Monroe, he said, voice smooth, controlled. I was beginning to think you'd stay silent. I never stay silent, I replied. Not about my company. Not about my technology. He smirked. You've cleaned house nicely. Brooks Crow. Even your internal leaks. But you're late to the real game. Explain, I said, stepping closer. Whitmore gestured to a shipping container behind him. I froze. Inside, glowing screens showed real-time simulations of Atlas, running every line of my code. Mirrored. Every dataset replicated. Ready to launch overseas. Why? I asked. Why risk everything? Profit, he said simply. Atlas isn't just software. It's the future, and I control the future. I let my gaze sweep the containers, and then I smiled. You underestimate me, I said, reaching into my coat. Not a weapon, my tablet. With a few taps, encrypted commands zipped across the network. Firewalls, server locks, backups all mirrored remotely. And in less than a minute, Whitmore's clone of Atlas went dark. His smirk faltered. Impossible, this is impossible. Not impossible, I corrected. Just predictable. You've destroyed my work, he hissed. No, I said, voice low, firm. I've protected it. My company, my people, my legacy. You wanted a prototype to profit from. You get nothing. And if you try again, I tapped the tablet. I have the logs, the locations, every transfer you've attempted. I've already alerted authorities and the press. Every move you make from here will be traceable, public, legal, final. He swallowed hard. For the first time, I saw fear. The calm invincibility was gone. I underestimated you, he said. His voice cracked, almost human. I turned away. Pier 17 was silent except for the faint lapping of water. Back at the office the next morning, the board met me with nods of respect, not fear. Daniel and Vanessa had been permanently suspended. Whitmore's overseas firm was under immediate scrutiny. Atlas, fully secured, was ready for launch with the team intact. Ava Tran, the interim CEO, approached me quietly. You did it. The company is ours again. I smiled. We did it. That evening, I sat by my apartment balcony. The skyline glimmered beneath the night, peaceful. No threats, no exodus, no shadows looming. I exhaled. For once, silence wasn't empty. It was victory. And this time, it was real.